Will you sleep with my husband again? Will you ever? No, Ma. I'm sorry. Don't strip me naked, please. I beg you. This is a funny and interesting video of a side chick and the main wife's drama. Grab a coffee and watch to the end, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Anita had always passed the love garden without stopping. She was a second-year student in the Faculty of Business Administration, slim, modest, the kind who kept to herself. She didn't have the flashy wigs and bold makeup that some of her hostel mates wore. Her clothes were simple, Ankara skirts, neat sandals, her natural hair pulled into a bun. Still, her beauty was undeniable. Bright eyes, skin that glowed even without foundation, and a smile that could soften the sternest lecturer. That evening, Anita wasn't even supposed to be at the garden. She had promised to meet her friend Chioma there to go over some lecture notes. Chioma had sent a message saying she was running late, so Anita sat quietly on a stone bench under the flowering almond tree, watching students drift by. She scrolled absent-mindedly through her old Android phone, its cracked screen glowing faintly in the dimming light. Then he appeared. Daniel. She didn't know his name yet, but when he stepped into the garden, it was as though the crowd parted for him. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with skin the shade of roasted coffee. His car, parked just outside the gate, had already drawn whispers. A sleek black SUV with tinted windows, gleaming like liquid metal. Anita tried to look away, but Daniel's eyes found hers. "Good evening," he said, his voice smooth, deep, and commanding without being harsh. "Good evening," Anita replied softly, clutching her phone as though it could shield her from his presence. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, though he was already lowering himself onto the bench beside her. They spoke lightly at first, about the garden, the noisy students, the heat of the day. Before Chioma even arrived, Anita found herself laughing at his subtle jokes, her earlier nerves dissolving like sugar in hot tea. Daniel left her that evening with a simple, "I'll call you tomorrow. Save my number." He handed her a brand new orange iPhone 17, still very new, like it was nothing. Anita froze, eyes wide. I can't accept this. He smiled, brushing her hesitation aside. "It's just a gift. You deserve better than that cracked screen you've been struggling with. No pressure. Just keep it." That night, back in her hostel room, her friends surrounded her in awe. They passed the phone around, squealing, teasing her, some whispering jealousy behind their smiles. But there was one thing Anita avoided asking. Who exactly was this man? It was Chioma, her closest friend, who raised the question one evening in the hostel. "Babe, you never talk about him much," Chioma said, raising an eyebrow. "What does he do? Is he married? Where does he even live?" Anita looked away, fiddling with her phone. "I don't know. I don't think so. He would have told me." She almost snorted. "Men don't talk about marriage until you ask them directly. Shine your eyes, oh! He looks mature, not like these are coarse boys." On their fourth outing, she found the courage. They were sitting in a quiet corner of an upscale lounge, sipping Chapman, while soft Afro beats hummed in the background. Daniel was in a relaxed mood, scrolling through something on his phone. Anita leaned forward, her voice hesitant but firm. "Daniel, are you married?" He looked up, caught off guard for a split second. Then he smiled, slow and confident, like someone unveiling a secret without shame. "Yes, I'm happily married. 2 kids. They're abroad right now, on vacation with my wife." Anita's world cracked in that moment. The air around her grew heavy, her chest tight. She forced a small laugh, hoping it would mask the sting in her heart. "You're married?" she whispered. "Yes," Daniel replied smoothly, as though it was no crime at all.
But don't frown, Anita. You're special to me. My wife and kids are my family, yes, but you are my peace. Don't let this scare you." His words were like sugar on poison. Part of Anita wanted to stand up and leave immediately, to cut ties before she drowned deeper. But another part of her, the part that remembered the late-night calls, the expensive gifts, the way he looked at her like no one ever had, couldn't move. On the ride back to campus, silence filled the SUV. Daniel reached out and held her hand as he drove. His thumb stroked her skin, calm and steady. "I won't force you," he said gently. "If this is too much for you, I will respect that. But understand, Anita, life is not always black and white. Sometimes, happiness comes where we least expect." Anita's lips trembled, but she said nothing. Deep down, she knew there was no future in being with a married man, but her heart refused to listen. She told herself she would just enjoy the moment, nothing more. She wouldn't get too attached. She would take what came and leave the rest. But that was a lie she whispered only to herself. And then, the storm began. One night, Anita waited for his call. She lay on her hostel bed, the hum of the ceiling fan lulling her into half-sleep. Usually by 10 p.m., his voice would float into her ear, warm and familiar. But that night, the phone stayed silent. She checked the screen again and again. No message, no call. She dialed his number. No connection. Again, still nothing. By morning, his line was still off. Her stomach knotted as she dragged herself to class. She tried to focus on the lecturer's voice, but her mind spun in circles. Just as she bent her head to copy notes, her phone buzzed. A message from him. Her heart leapt as she opened it. "Babe, sorry I worried you last night. I have a fever. Please can you come to the house now?" Anita didn't think twice. She closed her notebook, packed her things, and whispered to her seatmate, "Help me submit the assignment." Then she rushed out of the hall, her steps quick, her chest racing. Love had blinded her. She didn't know she was walking straight into the trap of her life.
Anita hopped on a yellow and black Okada, one of those motorbike taxis that threaded through traffic like a needle. The rider weaved between cars and danfos, horn crying out like some impatient animal. When she got to the house was nothing like the hostel compounds she knew. It sat behind a high fence with a motorized gate, a manicured lawn, and potted plants that looked like they had professional names. A shiny SUV waited in the driveway. Its black paint swallowed the sun. A man in a smart suit, not Daniel, but a security guard with a polite nod, opened the gate. Anita's breath caught in her throat. She had been to expensive places before, but never to one that made her hands feel suddenly small. Inside, two women were there when she stepped through the doorway. One older, stern, composed like someone who kept ledgers of other people's wrongs. The other younger, softer, but with a watchful set to her jaw. They both looked up as if they had been waiting for her all morning, and when the older woman's eyes met Anita's, the air changed. "Who are you?" the older woman asked, voice smooth but edged like a blade. Anita's throat went dry. For a sloppy second, she considered telling the truth, about waiting, about the message she received, but something in the woman's stare made honesty feel dangerous. So she lied. I came looking for work," she said, voice small and even. The two women exchanged a quick glance, one of those silent conversations women share with eyes alone, sharp as scissors. "What kind of work?" the younger one asked, almost amused. "Any. I can cook, I can wash, I can clean," Anita replied. Her hands had the faint wetness of nervousness. The older woman's mouth tightened. She stood small and precise like a judge. "You are lucky," she said in a voice that held the power of judgment. "We need help. Start now. 30,000 naira per day. The amount hung between them like something impossible and real. Anita blinked, thinking she had misheard. 30,000? For a day? Her mind flashed through reasons to refuse. Pride, dignity, the embarrassment of being discovered. "Thank you," she whispered, trying to steady her breathing. "I'll start right away." The younger woman smiled in a way that didn't reach her eyes and took Anita's bag. She set it down on a side table and unzipped it with a casual slowness that felt deliberate. The bag held the fruits Anita had bought that morning, a scarf, and the new iPhone he'd given her, the brilliance of its glass surface catching the living room light. The younger woman's fingers paused on the phone for a heartbeat and then moved on. Anita felt a cold prick along her spine, but she forced herself not to react. For all she knew, Daniel really was sick. The older woman waved at the other. "Show her the backyard," she said. The younger woman led Anita out through the kitchen. Pots and pans lined the counters, and a faint smell of stew clung to the air as if dinner had been promised but delayed indefinitely. The backyard was a small jungle of clothes, mountains of fabric with the memory of hands and nights, aprons, children's shirts, men's suits, a tie rolled up like a sleeping snake, things that belonged to lives Anita could only imagine.
"Start there," the younger woman said, with the casual authority of someone ordering fate itself. "We don't have all day." The work began, like a punishment anyone could step into. Cold water biting her knuckles, scrubbing that seemed to find every hidden stain. Anita bent until her back hummed. She squeezed water from shirts, rinsed, wrung them like she was trying to wring secrets out of fabric, and hung them to dry on a line that shivered in a breeze. Her palms stung as if they had been licked by fire. Then a mop was thrust into her hands and she moved, sweeping the compound floor in long, aching strokes. Children's socks and a school uniform were tossed into her pile. Time blurred into motion. Water, soap, the rhythm of scrubbing, the mind-numbing repetition that turns a person into a machine. At some point, hours later, she could not tell how long, her legs trembled and her breath came shallow. She made it back into the living room and sank onto the cool tiles as if gravity had finally found a place to lay her down. "Are you done with everything?" she asked, as if she were too tired to care for nuance. Anita's voice was a thread. "Yes, ma." She stretched, trying to pull the last of the pain from her back. The older woman's eyes sharpened. "You are lucky today," she said slowly, and the words carried a shadow. Anita did not yet know what that shadow would bring. The silence after the older woman's words pressed into Anita's ears like the weight of a rock. She sat on the floor, chest heaving, clothes damp with sweat, and tried to understand what lucky meant in a house that smelt of secrets. Her eyes darted from the television to the two women who had been watching her as though she was an insect pinned under glass. "You are lucky because I'm in a good mood," the older woman repeated, her lips curving into something that wasn't quite a smile. Her eyes were sharp, fixed on Anita like claws waiting to close. Anita swallowed hard, unsure whether to nod or speak. "Ma, I don't understand," she whispered. The older woman leaned forward, her elbows resting on her knees. Her voice dropped, heavy, dangerous. "Don't play innocent with me. Did you not come here because you received a message from my daughter's husband?" The word struck Anita like a slap. Her stomach twisted violently, and her hands trembled where they rested on the cold floor. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. She looked up at the woman's face, the face lined not by age but by anger held in check, and realized with horror what had happened. The message, the fever, the request to come. It had not been Daniel, it had been her. Anita bent her head, shame washing over her in hot waves. She wanted to deny it, to say she had made a mistake, but the woman's voice sliced through her silence. "Answer me," she barked, her tone sharp enough to pierce bone. Anita's lips quivered. Slowly, weakly, she nodded. The younger woman hissed, loud and sharp. "So it's true. These small girls of nowadays, you see a married man and your eyes start shining. Is it a curse? A single boy is not enough for you?" She grabbed a throw pillow from the sofa and flung it at Anita's chest. The impact jolted her, though it was soft compared to the violence of their words. Anita's eyes blurred with tears. She clasped her hands together, her voice breaking. "I didn't know. I swear, I thought he was single when we first met. He told me later, but I was already..." She stopped, choking on the rest. Already in love, already too deep to climb out. The older woman's laugh was short, humorless. "First time, eh? That's what they all say. First time, yet you knew the way to my daughter's house. First time, yet you've been answering his calls in the middle of the night." Her words came like bullets, each one finding its target. "You have been sleeping with him on my daughter's bed. Her bed." Her voice rose, filling the room with the kind of fury that needed no witnesses. Anita shook her head desperately. "No, ma. Please, I've never..." "Shut up!" the woman snapped, her eyes blazing. "You think your innocent face can fool me? Ah, you are lucky I am calm today. Otherwise, you would not leave this house with your dignity." The younger woman folded her arms, her eyes narrowing. "So what do we do with her, madam?" The older woman rose slowly from the sofa. Her height and presence stretched the shadow of her anger across the room. She pointed a finger at Anita, steady as a spear. "Take off everything my daughter's husband bought for you. Every single thing. Drop them here." Anita froze. Her hands went instinctively to her ears, her wrist, her wig. "Ma!"
"Now," the woman thundered. With shaking hands, Anita obeyed. She slipped off her wig, her bangles clinking as they hit the table, her earrings, her wristwatch, all gifts from Daniel, all tokens of a love now poisoned. Each item felt heavier than iron as she set them down. Tears slid down her cheeks, unbidden, unstoppable. "What about the clothes?" the younger woman asked, tilting her head as though she wanted to watch Anita unravel completely. The older woman waved her hand, dismissive but still cruel. "Leave them. I don't want her nakedness polluting my house. But," she leaned closer, her voice low and sharp, "get out now, before I strip you myself." The younger woman grabbed Anita's bag from the corner and hurled it at her. It landed hard against her chest. Anita clutched it to her body like a lifeline, her body trembling so badly she could hardly stand. She didn't wait for a second command. She staggered to her feet and ran. Through the wide front door, across the gleaming tiles, out into the hot afternoon sun. Her legs found a speed they didn't know they possessed, powered by fear, shame, and the raw instinct to survive. Outside the compound, the street blurred as she fled. Her slipper slapped the ground, her breath tore through her throat, and still she did not stop running. Not until she reached the crowded bus stop near her hostel, where the noisy chaos of Donfo drivers and food sellers swallowed her whole. Only then, hidden in the crush of strangers, did Anita unzip her bag. Her eyes widened in disbelief. The iPhone was gone, the one thing that had made her the envy of her hostel, the gift that had symbolized Daniel's affection. It was no longer there. Her knees weakened, and she sank onto the edge of a wooden bench. Tears welled in her eyes again, not just for the phone, not just for the humiliation, but for the way her entire world had tilted in one cruel afternoon. That was when the truth settled inside her. She had been nothing but a pawn in someone else's game, and she had lost.